Hello, my name is Daniel Roberts, a volunteer at the Highline Heritage Museum, and you're listening to Highline Times in History on KQWZ 106.5 FM. And I'm with Roger Price.
We're both here at the museum today. We're sitting in the radio booth of One America. Do a little recordings, and we're going to try to do an ongoing show, a series during the summertime.
And the hope of this program is to record some of the memories of a long-term resident of the Highline area, so that you guys can enjoy it now or years from now.
Okay, well, thank you, Daniel. Yes, KQWZ 106.5.
Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Good afternoon. I'm Roger Price, and today I'm at the Highline Heritage Museum in the radio booth of One America, and I have Daniel with me, and we're gonna have I'd like to talk about various parades that Burien had over the years that I can remember, and also a few different things around Christmas time that I remember from the very early days when I was just a small kid. Uh, that was back in the 50s, but I know we lived on 153rd and 4th Avenue, right there where Vince's restaurant is today. But we had a big two-story house there back in very early. I think my dad that bought it in about 1949, and we lived there about 5 years. But I remember at Christmas time, uh, whether I remember from that time or from I was a little bit older, but they used to hang garland and fir boughs across 152nd. It went from telephone post to telephone post, and they went right across the street because the street wasn't this wide back then. It was just 2 lanes, I believe, and I can kind of remember because we just did lived very close to the field house, but they would put lights on it, and they were the big bulbs. They were like a normal bulb you put in your house back then, and so I don't know how much electricity they were using, but there wasn't that many. But the population wasn't that big back then either. But it was real Christmassy like. Uh, so that was kind of cool. That was one of the things that really stood out for me to remember. But I also want to talk about the various parades that we had back then. I believe the first parade that I remember might have been about 1958. It was the Hydro Highlights Parade back then because the hydroplanes were such a big uh, a big deal back then. I mean, it was the summer activity that everybody kind of looked forward to. So I know uh, that they used to start down around 10th Avenue Southwest and 152nd, and the hydros they would line up and all the way to they would go almost all the way to I think past Highline High School. The very first parades that we had, it was quite a long distance, but there was a lot of different things in the parade. I mean, there was, I believe, the first one was about eight of the unlimiteds and maybe about 20 of the limited. So it was quite a production just putting all those hydroplanes in the parade. Plus, we had floats back then, and they had different. I know there was the Seafair Clowns and I don't know, Seafair Pirates. They would come now and then we had motorcycles that would always come out, whether it was the police department or just different ones. But and there would always be marching bands and horses. Back then, there was always horses in parades, which is kind of that disappeared too over the years. So, but there would be people that would walk behind the horses too to scoop up. But that was just the way it was. It didn't really make a big deal out of it. It just did it. So that was kind of fun too. But yeah, that was a lot of, I know a lot of the seafair uh, things happened during that time too. So gradually, I think after the into the 60s, actually, the Hydro Highlights parade, it kind of faded out because it wasn't actually on the 4th of July. It was more in the really early part of August. But as time went on, it was replaced kind of by the 4th of July parade, and that came along too. But there was, I think, before the Hydro Highlights, there was also parades in Burien, whether it was on, I believe it might have been on the 4th of July, dating way back I think around the 1920s. So that was quite a ways that we had parades going on in Burien. And then they also used to have uh, little kids parades too. The kids could pull wagons or whatever, and they'd bring pets and different things. So it was also a lot of fun. But yeah, I know. Daniel, you probably had parades back in Las Cruces. I would imagine that you remember too.
Yeah, yeah, we did. One that comes to mind was this one called the whole Enchilada Fiesta. And it started in 1980, and I think it sadly ended in 2014. But it was really nice. It was a big parade in the area. I think it was towards the downtown part of my hometown, Las Cruces, and it had a lot of food, just like culture. One of the local well-known like restaurant owners, he'd always like make like I don't know if it was every time, but there was several times that he would make like not the world's biggest or attempt to make the world's biggest enchilada.
Uh-huh.
And so there was a picture in one of the restaurants where he had it, and it was a very, very large enchilada, like more longer than like your arm span.
Uh-huh.
So, it was like fun little things like that. I guess, like all things, interest eventually falls off, or maybe it was funding. I never really looked too deeply into it, but that was a fun one. There was another parade I went to in Ruidoso or Cloudcroft, which is both of those are towns in New Mexico, up in the mountains. And the only thing I remember about that one, though, is that it was the one time in my life I've been stung by a bee or a wasp, and then all I remember was like, my neck really hurts. I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
And we just kind of figured something decided they didn't like me and stung me. Well, that's not really much to do with the parade. It was,
No, but you remember it very well, that's for sure. Yeah.
yes. So thank you, bee or wasp. You made it memorable.
Oh, sure.
Not
Yeah.
in a good way, but hey.
No, that's good. Yeah, parades are always bring up something a little unique or different. So, yeah, I know that there were various other parades around here. I know Des Moines always had the Waterland Festival, and a lot going on at that time down there. And uh, Normandy Park, they had a parade that kind of ran through the residential area of Normandy Park, so that was always interesting. And they still do these things, so that's great that they continue the tradition and all these things. So uh, White Center, I think they've had different various type of festivals down there too. So it's always something to do, around the summertime. So that was a fun times. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think one thing off the top of my head that also was at the whole enchilada fiesta and was the music. And for that parade, that'd be mariachi music, which I don't know if you've ever heard mariachi music, but it is very high energy. It's fun music. If you ever get a
Uh-huh.
chance, you should definitely listen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I How about any of the parades there? What kind of music did they do?
Yeah, well, that was a parades are good to bring the town and everybody, get them all involved, and hopefully the weather turns out pretty good. I don't recall all the going to all the parades in Burien, but I know there had to be a few in there that were not sunny and dry, but that's okay too. We got through it and everything worked out okay. But yeah, there was so much more involved, and there wasn't so many other cities that were having these parades at the same time. So there was a lot more turnout for people that wanted to put a float together. I know West Seattle was very high on floats. My sister-in-law, she was, I think, the Haiyu Queen back in the 60s. So that was, I don't know if they we're out here for the Burien parade, but I know West Seattle had a long parade over there too. But yeah, that was fun too. But well, it's what else, Daniel? You think anything else on any other of the outlying cities down there in New Mexico that had parades or big get-togethers or
Well, can't think of any parades offhand. I knew that for the parades themselves, they usually went hand in hand with like kind of fairs or kind of farmers markets. People selling all their knickknacks or wares or food.
uh-huh.
That was always a good opportunity. For New Mexico, it was a big one, and it's actually this month is the balloon festival. And so it'd be like hot air balloons. And
Oh, sure, that yeah, that would be fun.
there's a big one in Albuquerque, and then there's a smaller one that's like in the Las Cruces area. And if you ever get a chance, you should definitely see that. It's one of those lasting events that always brings people there.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of those big colorful balloons. It's really pretty, really a sight to see actually. So that would be fun. And I'm sure you saw a lot of those at while you were uh, living there and growing up a little bit in Las Cruces. So
Yeah, even with a smaller festival, because we never really got up to Albuquerque. When I was living there, when you're living in the area, you don't see all the things that people travel to your area to see, that kind of thing. But there's still like the smaller one I mentioned, and there's still plenty of varieties of balloons.
oh boy.
Like Saguaro cactus looking one I saw once. There's like a Darth Vader looking one, stuff like that.
Yeah. So whatever popular character was at that time, they would have a balloon for it too, actually, probably. Yeah.
Popular characters or just, unique designs.
Uh-huh. Sure. Yeah. No, I know the different parades here for especially the hydro highlights parade. That was such a big turnout for that because everybody was that like I said, it was hydroplanes in the summertime were part of summertime festivities in Seattle. So and the Gold Cup and all that was here sometimes. So, and the rivalry between Detroit and Seattle on the hydroplanes, there was quite a competition back then too. So, but yeah, I know the old slow-mos and then the thriftways and all those, the Bardolls, and then it progressed up to from those piston motors up to the turbines and stuff. So it was, and they got much quieter, but I still miss the old piston boats too. That was so much fun to have different ones in the race. So,
I can imagine. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add to this?
well, I don't know. I think I've kind of covered. There's probably a lot of things I didn't mention, but yeah, I know there was. I never was a participant in any of the parades, but I was probably there watching from the sidewalk, or doing something. I used to come along to see different things but the parades were always a lot of fun. And the Fourth of July was a nice way to celebrate all these things.
Definitely. Well, thank you folks for listening in. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope you'll join us next time.